This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Zoro has felt like an outlier in the monster trio alongside Luffy and Sanji. I know that sounds weird, but Luffy is the son of Dragon, grandson of Garp, grew up with the son of the Pirate King, and so on and so forth. Sanji's a prince of a scientific military kingdom, has had intense training from childhood, along with his superhuman brothers to become a formidable soldier. And he was also trained by a relatively renowned martial artist like Zeph. Their background and environment somewhat already sets them up to be something significant in the future, just through the people they met. Zoro, on the other hand, in the One Piece world and in our own world, everyone has dreams, and for some of those dreams, influence matters. I mean, what would Big News Morgans have to do all day if no one checked into his newspapers? And with today's sponsor, Squarespace, you can create a powerful and beautiful online platform to do just that. Connect with your audience and generate revenue through gated, members-only content. Create a community on your Squarespace website with a fully integrated commenting system that supports threaded comments, replies, and likes. These new third-party tools can help you manage inventory, promote products, streamline bookkeeping, reconcile and file sales tax, and ship items across the globe. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/B.D.A. law to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Zoro, on the other hand, for a long time has just been a rowdy orphan boy that traveled around picking fights with swordsmen and dojos. Now, while that's also pretty uncommon, to be where he is now with that background is pretty impressive, until we found out about his lineage in Wano. Now, with the recent SBS and some revelations, it appears to be that Zoro is a direct blood descendant of Ryuma, the sword god, making his current power level and future greatness nothing short of fate. Or is it? To talk about the origin of Zoro's power, in the way the One Piece world is built, you have to talk about the character's personality and ambitions, because conviction in this world directly translates to more powerful haki and battle strength. Something that Oda surprisingly tried to hammer in, yet fans never being able to fully grasp, is the lack of importance of blood. What do I mean by that? Well, even if we were to go symbolically, it's always the person who raised you and loved you who is hailed as the real parent. Think of Bellemere and Nami and Nojiko. Think of Zeph and Sanji. Think of Hiluluk calling Chopper his son. The idea of the child not bearing the sins of his parents simply by blood relation, like with Roger and Ace. In the case of Sanji with Judge and Zeph, which both were present in Sanji's life, the story recognizes the adoptive father as the more worthy and legitimate father. And even if we take this literally, blood or genetics almost never play a role in a character's strength, unlike other shows like Naruto or even Dragon Ball, where characters are naturally born with abnormal powers specifically related to their bloodline: Uchiha, Sharingan, Uzumaki, massive chakra, Saiyan, superhuman, etc. Now, as the pinnacle of strength Kaido himself put it, the world of One Piece is convenient and fair like that. To reach the top, you need exceptional haki, which is directly tied to your personal training and willpower. I know it's a bit weird calling Kaido the pinnacle after what happened in a recent chapter, but bear with me. In One Piece, you can have average humans give birth to wildly strong characters like Big Mom with her parents, Sabo and his parents, Doflamingo and his parents, Law and his parents, and so on and so forth, while also having strong characters with much weaker offspring like Big Mom with many of her kids, Yasop, with Usopp, Captain Morgans and Helmeppo before Garp's boot camp, etc. In almost every single scenario where the offspring is also really strong, it can always be attributed to their environment shaping them up to be where they are. They can inherit some similar personality traits like their parents, as is the case with Ace having a similar temperament like Roger, but their strength is almost always based on what they went through. Luffy was a weak kid, but his training with Garp, Ace, and Sabo shaped him to be the powerhouse he was when he set off, and the same can be said about Ace and Sabo. We can even see this process in real time with a silly example like Helmeppo, who was much weaker than his father to the point where a weakling like Kobe at the start of the series can match him. But through Garp's intense training, Helmeppo became much stronger, even surpassing his father. Now, Yamato wasn't just strong because she was Kaido's daughter, but more so because she inherited Odin's will and was beaten into shape by the strongest creature alive himself. Yamato herself even acknowledges that she's as strong as she is today because of him putting her through that, as abusive as it was. There's no shortage of cases of strong characters with strong parents that can be fully explained with just their upbringing rather than their genetics. To tie this back to Zoro though, because that's why we're here, this was all to say that not only is Zoro's strength not because of his lineage, but in fact, that had absolutely nothing to do with it. His parents and grandparents, shout out to Pinzoro, were just normal people as far as we know. The source of Zoro's strength can actually be traced down to two key things in his life. One, his ambition, and two, his promise to Kuina. His ambition can be directly tied to Conqueror's Haki and was what initially motivated him to be stronger. Now, as the name suggests, to adamantly aspire to be the best at something generally tends to be consistent with people who have Conqueror's Haki. But this alone isn't enough to set Zoro up for greatness. In fact, I'd argue that without his encounter with Kuina, Zoro would have never amounted to something just like Luffy without Shanks would have had a drastically different path in life. A bold claim for sure, but let's explore it further. Many people forget a small aspect of Zoro's character, but he, more than any other Straw Hat, seems to be very fixated on promises. He would not even shut up about the promise this and promise that in his introduction, and he puts huge value, again, on promises. He holds promises to a sacred degree, where he even believed Helmeppo to keep his word and release him eventually. But now, looking back on Zoro's most important vow of his life, which is when Kuina died, he specifically says that he will work for Kuina's share too. Someone who outclassed him in every way, meaning that Zoro can no longer carry on and train like he did before. Carrying Kuina on with him through her sword meant that he will not only reach the best version he could be of himself, but simultaneously the best version Kuina could have been as well. He is now carrying the weight of two conqueror-worthy ambitions with him. And as we established before, he is above all else a man who keeps his promises. This is the biggest motivator and the reason why Zoro trains excessively throughout the story more than anyone else. While his ambition fueled his natural aptitude and Conqueror's Haki, his encounter and promise to his friend is what fuels his actual combat power. Being a descendant of Ryuma is cool, but it has no bearing whatsoever on his power and purely serves as an irony of fate, as Oda loves to always do. It does, however, has everything to do with not only his time in Shimotsuki Village, but also his fateful encounter with Luffy. Luffy was the final vessel Zoro needed to broaden his own horizon and rapidly grow beyond East Blue. It is no stretch to say that the two biggest factors for Zoro becoming as strong as he is were the two main promises in his life, the promises to Kuina and Luffy, the very two people Oda decided to include when revisiting Zoro's origin during the King fight. So I know it's easy to look at Zoro and now trace things back to his lineage and say, well, Zoro's only strong because he's connected to Ryuma, the sword god. Of course he's going to be strong. But that's dismissing everything that's come before us in the story, Oda's setup in regards to Zoro's promises, and how important this is to Zoro's ambition, Zoro's growth, and overall Zoro's character. So if you are a Zoro fan, a true Zoro fan, think about what you're saying when you try to undermine Zoro's ambitions and Zoro's goals, because his very existence is based off of the things established before. Zoro would have been strong regardless of his ancestors, as long as he met these two people and went through the things that he did. There are few people with the mettle and ambition that Zoro has, and we see that time and time again, that he's willing to do whatever it takes to fulfill his promise to Luffy, even throwing away his own pride. So Zoro with this is not necessarily a unique character when it comes to strength for others, which is some of the theme of the Straw Hats, doing and becoming whatever it takes for your friends, like Nico Robin becoming the devil that it took for her friends, Sanji literally becoming the Germa tech for their friends, Chopper becoming the monster for their friends, Frankie becoming a cyborg for their friends, Brook literally dying and leaving his body for his friends. It is a theme within the Straw Hats, and Zoro embodies that, in which he is willing to do whatever for his friends, especially for his captain, because like I stated before, promises are paramount. That's why he talks to Luffy about, hey, we're in a new world. You promised me you would take this seriously. You promised this would never happen again. Can we do that? Can we fulfill and follow through on the things we believe in? And Zoro, that's what it means to him as a character. And because of that, his strength is not predicated on some old guy that died years ago. This is about Zoro and his ambitions and the people he's met and his experiences. And guys, I stand by that.